was very curious as a young, as an entrepreneur myself. Your story of starting Motilal Oswal, and you met your partner at in a hostel, and Mr. Raamdeo Agrawal, and you were actually, from what I understand, you were younger than your partner.
Yep.
And despite that, the name of the firm is Motilal Oswal. In Indian, so I am an angel investor. I invest in a lot of startups. I've seen the ego play between the founders and so on. So how did you? I'm sure there is something that is special about your partnership. I would love to know about how you started and how was the journey been. It'd be great to hear from you.
Basically, Rahman, we started in 87. 1987 was the year when I think you had Black Monday in US. So that was a kind of, I think, time for us to start. But I think the US was very different that time when we started. The markets was not as closely integrated and closely kind of, I think, I would say washed then it was. But that's the way I think we started. Me and Raamdeo both actually were in the same hostel. We are chartered accountants, both are chartered accountants. And I think that was the connection. But we didn't actually meet in hostel. After he moved out of the hostel, he was about, I think, 4.5 years elder than me. So he moved out of the hostel. But somewhere, I think I had a rent house in Lokhandwala. He had his brother's home in Lokhandwala. As usual, when I was staying there, I used to, from Andheri station, I used to take a bus, 4 bungalows, and from 4 bungalows, again, we had to take another bus or I had to walk down. It was about 2.5, 3 kilometers from there. So Raamdeo had a bike, Hero Honda bike. So he used to drive from his home to the Andheri station. So on few days, as like a kind of, I think, college student or by just CA pass, so I thought let me ask a lift from him. I took lift on his bike because the buses were very, very less and it used to take time. So any biker, they used to be quite kind of, I think, nice to give ride to people like us. So I got used to that free ride. So that's the way we got introduced. And then immediately we saw, what do you kya kar raha hai? I said, I'm a chartered accountant. I was also there. So while in hostel we didn't meet, but hostel was the connection which brought us closer. And Lokhandwala, his brother's flat, and I was on rent. So that also brought us closer. And the third thing was this bike. The connecting point was the bike. Had he not had the bike, I don't think so we should have met that. We could have met that. So then really I think my brothers were doing some stock market business. I was doing a service in a CA firm and trying to figure out what to do. So he was doing, then I came to know that he's doing some equity research. He works for an equity research firm. I said that my brothers also want to do some business and I thought that why don't we at least look at exploring the stock market sub-broking. So he said that I have some connection there. So he used to go to the trading floor, the ring we used to call it, open outcry system. So I met him a couple of times and I thought that at least my brother wants to do something. So let me also start helping them in getting a good broker. He introduced you to a good broker. We did some transaction with that broker, but end of the day I got so excited that myself become a broker. Okay, so I said, Raamdeo, at least can you help me in getting a sub-brokership? He said that why don't we start it together? So we said, yeah, I'm doing research, so I also want to do something of my own. I said, okay, let's get together. So that was the connecting point where I think I wanted to become a sub-broker. He also wanted to become an entrepreneur. So he had some knowledge. He was doing equity research and my brothers had some business and I also wanted to do something. So that's the way we started, and I think touchwood, that partnership really I think is growing, and we are now 33-year-old, although it's a limited corpus, but it's a partnership. It's like we own equal stake in the company.
Yeah.
Now why my name? I think I used to go to the trading floor to execute the trade, and he used to sit in the office, in the broker's office. So in those days, the person who entered the trading hall, he had to get MPNL registered with the exchange. So what we call it, the badge and the block used to be in my name. So on the floor, people used to know me, although name of a firm was Prudential Portfolio Services. We started like Prudential Portfolio Services. That was the partnership from between me and Raamdeo. And when I was going to the floor, he was sitting on the phone, advising the clients, taking orders, and that's the way. So the experience actually counted on me, because in the stock exchange, the badge was issued in my name, because partnership was not allowed other than blood relatives at that point of time on the stock exchange floor. Although it was a partnership, registered partnership between me and him, but only one person could get the badge. But it was very scarce. The commodity, one broker used to get only 7 kind of, I think, sub brokers they can go on the trading floor. Got that license to go there, and so that came in my name. And I think suddenly after 3 years, in 1990, we thought that now let's buy a ticket on the Bombay Stock Exchange. So when it comes that now again, the Bombay Stock Exchange didn't allow the partnership firms between, as I said, non-blood relatives. So the Motilal Oswal was the name of the kind of, I think, firm which got the BSE license. And since the 3 year, I had an experience on the trading floor. The exchange didn't allow the, like, given a choice, we should have said MR kind of, I think, investing or MR portfolio services, Motilal Raamdeo, but the stock exchange rules didn't allow that. So I became the member of the Bombay Stock Exchange, and I think I would say he was kind-hearted, or he was kind enough to allow me to use my name. And I think, of course, later on there were a lot of opportunities to change the name of the company, but I think we thought that if the brand is name already there, and if both the promoters or partners agreed to the same, then I think let it continue. And globally, most of the firms in any case were in the name of the individuals. If you look at Charles Schwab, or you look at Morgan Stanley, or Goldman Sachs, all these names actually they were the promoters who allowed their names to continue. I think so. That's the way we also evolved.
Yeah, I've actually heard him speak at one of the events, Mr. Raamdeo Agrawal, and I must say that of all the speech that was there on that day, this was the best.
Okay.
Not only me, everybody would say that. It's really straightforward, funny, to the point. It is really, really great.
Okay.
Anyway, so I always was curious about your start and how it was and all. Next question is mainly on the wealth creation side in India. So in Huron, we try to promote the wealth creators, and then you are essentially in the business of creating wealth, right? And we work with various partners in wealth management industry and so on. One of the things that we try and do is to break the taboo of speaking about about wealth, because what we believe is wealth creation is fantastic, and if you create it transparently, it has to be celebrated. And what is your perception of how the Indians see wealth creation, and how is the attitude towards speaking about transparent wealth creation evolved? Does it become more positive? What are your thoughts on the same?
I think few things. First thing is that I've come from an entrepreneurial family. Okay. So my father was, of course, a kind of small grain merchant, but I think the entrepreneurship was in the blood. I kept on interacting, and from there, few kind of, I think, things I picked up that how do you create a business? And one, of course, I think they used to work very hard. My father used to go to the nearby place for 5 months, 6 months. He never used to come back home. So I think the attributes of hard work. I used to visit with him few customers. So the kind of, I think, attention he used to give to your customers. So customer centricity, hard work, I think, ethics. So these are the things actually I learned from my father, and also being a professional chartered accountant. We were exposed to the corporate balance sheets. We used to audit those balance sheets. We used to meet a lot of clients. So these are the few things really which we really imbibe from day one. That integrity, ethics, customer centricity is a very, very important, I think, for us to build a business over a long period of time. Second thing, which I think, as I said, that Raamdeo was very good on knowledge and research side. So from day one, I think we started our practice based on how good we can advise, transparent advice, honest advice, sincere advice, and advice which is in the interest of the customer. So sometimes what we give them the advice that don't do anything, it may go against our interest, but that's what is the right thing for us to advise to the customer. Because when the client said that should I buy this, we said that no, this is not the time to buy. So basically you lose some revenue on that. So that was when we started the business. So you get the customer's interest when you advise, I think, sincere advice, right advice, what is in the interest of the customer. So I think the knowledge part was the biggest differentiator. I think the service part was differentiator. I think integrity, the values. When we started in '87, I think after just 2.5 years after that, the biggest scam of the country. You may have seen this 1992 Hardshell Method.
Yeah. I have a question on that as well.
So started from 1990, and then the market started booming from there. In fact, 1990, thanks to Hardshell Method, the index crossed 1,000. So I think when you do right things, definitely those things really, I think, work for you. So knowledge, I would say, integrity, and I think the right service, because the markets had all kind of, I would say, people who didn't believe in ethics, there was no word like service, because it was a very, I would say, when we started, it was a very closed market, very small market, and it was the brokers were the king. Okay, they never used to entertain the customer, because whatever I say, and there was no transparent. I used to go to the floor, and when we started, there was no SEBI. Even they didn't have rules that what I need to transparently tell the client that what price I had done the transaction for you. It was not necessary. If I bought, say, a Reliance stock at 100 rupees, it was my option to tell the client I bought it the net price to 102 or 103 or 105. Okay, so brokers were not supposed to disclose the price at which the trade has happened, and then transparently you tell them that I will charge you 50 basis as brokerage. We used to tell them rules, not we, but brokers used to tell them that I bought it for 105. Whether I have made 5 rupees or 2 rupees or 1 rupee, it is my option. So rules of the games were not there, the regulators were not there, although there were 2.5% ceiling on the brokerage, but I think there was nobody truly, really watched that. So ethics were very low. The service orientation was very, very weak. The markets as I said, that I think is very, very small, and brokers absolutely had huge amount of wealth, but I think that transparency was not at all. So in fact, when Bombay Stock Exchange, if I can share, they published, they actually came out with a professional scheme for new membership, that they wanted to get professionals as the brokers. So when I applied, my application was rejected, because most of those tickets were given to the relatives of the existing brokers. So in the name of professionals from the family were allowed, not the real independent professionals. That's what we had to buy the ticket from the market. So I think that's the way you went through. I think you begin it, but I think that has really, I would say, worked for us.
A couple of pointers from the rich list that we launched yesterday. So I launched last month. The first question is in the rich list, for instance, the first one of the trends that we saw this year was the chemical industry has grown on to become one of the biggest wealth creators in India. They've taken the number 2 spot in the sector contributing most amount of rich listers in India. Do you think such a growth is sustainable, or is it just because of the current situation that the market, the economy is in, that such trends are being popped up? Another trend is that manufacturing has gotten the first time entered the top 10 most wealth creating sector in India. Pharma is just adding so many entrepreneurs and ultra high net worth individuals, super wealth creators to the list. So all these trends, is it just a rare moment because of COVID, or do you think it's more sustainable?
See, we do the study on wealth creation. Raamdeo, in fact, has been doing this study. This is the 25th year of his former study, which we published. So we basically divided the company into 2 parts. One is the fastest wealth creator companies, 5 years, and second tier is the kind of biggest wealth creators. And in fact, he also has a third list now, the consistent wealth creator. So the biggest, fastest, and consistent, most consistent. So he has actually divided his study in 3 parts. So when you look about the chemicals, I would say they would be the fastest because of, I think, the environment. If you look at the companies like, say, banking, BFSI, where HDFC Bank, Kotak Bank, they will be the kind of thing, most consistent wealth creators. Okay, or FMCG will be most consistent wealth creators. So we divide into biggest, fastest, and consistent, and we have seen that actually the most consistent come from the kind of, I think, biggest one, not from the fastest one. First test will have their own kind of, I think, I would say, seasonal factor, or kind of, I think, 3 or 5 year great journey, and then I think you go into kind of, I think, cyclical phase, or the management has any kind of, I think, issues. So in our kind of study or in our kind of experience, I think the quality of management and quality of business, if we have the fusion of both, they are the biggest wealth creators. The quality of business combined with quality of management. Okay, if the management quality is good but business is not good, say within the Tata Group, there's a TCS and there's a telco. Management is same, but business differentiate in terms of the wealth creation more or less, or even wealth destruction. So we actually look at the quality of management and quality of business. That gives the kind of, I think, I would say, biggest kind of, I think, wealth, the biggest wealth creation happen there.
Okay, so so you're saying it doesn't, maybe we should not look at it from the early perspective, look at it like over a long term, 5 years, 10 years.
Absolutely, you need to look.
Sector would come into each of these
Absolutely. See, stock market in any case, short term it doesn't work. Short term, we all are kind of, I think, very, very speculative, and kind of, I think, it's a demand and supply. So wealth creation, real wealth creation happen kind of, I think, over a long period of time, and the power of compounding really, I think, works in stock market. Okay, so I think that's the way we look at it from wealth creation perspective.
And the next question is, we've also seen the wealth being created spread across 111 cities. But when we started the India Rich List, we could find entrepreneurs from about 30-35 cities. That's about 5 years back. Now, fast forward to 2020, we could find entrants from 111 cities or towns from India. How have you seen the wealth being spread geographically, lengthwise and breadthwise? How have you seen that evolution? Do you see that? You would have witnessed the growth of wealth creation in India. Yeah.
So when the kind of, I think, economy keep on expanding, okay, the economic like India, we are expanding actually. Our nominal GDP rate is anywhere between 8 to 10%. Okay, earlier it used to be very high. Okay, so earlier the wealth was much more concentrated in really, I think, large metro cities. But thanks to, I would say, digital kind of, I think, infrastructure, digital and opportunities being available to people, it doesn't matter whether you are in Mumbai or in Cochin or in Jaipur. Okay, because everybody is now connected, and all the kind of, I think, barriers are broken by this digital stuff. So today, it doesn't matter where I sit or where from I operate. Okay, so for me now, it's a kind of, I think, global village. Okay, I can sit in my village and I can still work, and for last 7 months we have been working from home, except 3 or 4 days I've gone to office. So I think in this digital era, even look at US. I think earlier the startup ecocenter was in kind of, I think, Silicon Valley, but now everywhere, China, India, the US. So the actually global boundaries are broken, except some regulatory kind of, I think, I would say, issues. So now it's not restricted into the metro cities. Of course, I think your power of an idea, I would say, efficient or excellence you bring in execution. That creates kind of, I think, wealth. That's the way really, I think, we look at it. When I look at, see, we are operate about, say, now out of 600 cities. Okay, and many say in broking and asset management business, we have got distributors or kind of, I think, partners. And you will be surprised that my number 2 partner is coming from Guwahati. My number 1 partner come from Nasik. So it doesn't matter whether I think a Mumbai guy or Guwahati guy or Nasik guy or Kanpur guy. It depends upon, I think, the entrepreneurial passion and how he really, I think, bring execution on the table, which brings actually huge amount of value for their customers, and hence they are able to grow that. So the power of entrepreneurship actually is now kind of not restricted to any kind of territory or geography.
Oh, that's very interesting. So you have clients from about 600 towns or cities across India. Oh, that's very, very interesting.
Yeah. No, clients will be from now any part of the country, but physical distribution is there in 600 cities. Physical. Now,
Okay.
digitally, we may be catering to about 5,000, 2,000 cities. I don't know, because clients sitting anywhere can trade. But we have the physical distribution in 600 cities.
I have to ask you one question. Even when we did the rich list, we could not find many entrants from the northeastern side of India, which is Tripura, Mizoram. And do you have clients from that side? How is the wealth creation that side happening? Could you give a couple?
No, I think, the stock market, actually, if you look at the history, we had 21 exchanges in the country. When we started, we were 21 exchanges. They were regional exchanges. But Bombay Stock Exchange was the only exchange which was national in character. Although it was a regional exchange, because every state had their own exchange. Okay, and the SEBI came in, and then the National Stock Exchange came in. So National Exchange was the first exchange which was allowed to go across the country by regulation. Okay, otherwise Chennai had a Chennai Stock Exchange, the Tamil Nadu or Bangalore, the Karnataka had a Bangalore Stock Exchange. Okay, so I think those barriers are broken now. Okay, so same way the customers and the partners, actually since the business was concentrated more in the metro cities, slowly it kept on expanding to other cities. Okay, and ultimately it is the size of the opportunity and size of the wealth. In smaller towns also, there will be few number of wealthy people, so the opportunity will be smaller, because I think the number of clients will be very less. But now, thanks to, as I said, the digitalization and expanding economy and opportunity available to everybody, I think now the businesses are expanding. So the pace of the speed of growth will be now much faster in tier 3, tier 4 cities. Because the larger cities are already getting to a saturation level. Not to saturation level, but the growth will be the speed of growth will be smaller than the speed of growth in the smaller cities, because the base is always also smaller and the people are really reaching there.
Yeah, and any specific comments on the northeast, like Tripura, Mizoram, those kind of states? Any specific?
Yeah, see, Tripura, Mizoram, we have very less. But we have reached to Shillong, we have reached to, of course, Guwahati, we have reached to Siliguri, so and even in Orissa, Bhubaneswar and some other cities, Cuttack and all. So I think slowly now the distribution is increasing in a big way.
Okay, got it. So I think it's still starting the wealth creation process on that side.
Yeah, it will be still, I think, lesser compared to the larger towns. But it is reaching.
Great. And I have one question. You spoke about Hardshell Method bull run, and in one of your interviews, you said you and Mr. Agrawal invested 15 lakhs, and that became 20 crores in the bull run. And if that bull run hadn't happened, you would have parted ways and have done your own respective jobs or something. I don't think that's true. Knowing your fire, you would have continued doing what you were doing. Now this movie Scam was also released. So I think everybody is talking about the movie. I've watched it. So what is your perspective of Hardshell Method, and what were the key learnings that you had? And it's quite interesting, right? There was one broker who tried things a little differently and did not succeed, and there was rise of you and Mr. Raamdeo Agrawal, and you've gone to become one of the most respected brands in the country. So what did you learn from it, and what are your perspective of about it?
In the game, if I have to look at the investing part, first thing, let's look at the investing. Why people come to stock market? Okay, ultimately, the emotions are fear and greed. Okay, people want to make money. Okay, and when there's a greed, means you want to make faster money, quick money. And anything really, I think, when you really, I think, get quick money, means really, I think there's a possibility that quicker wealth creation will not happen, but wealth destruction will happen very quick. I always say there are no shortcuts in life. So you need to really be very, very long-term player. And end of the day, if you're, say, the FD give you 5-6%, you cannot get 30% out of stock market consistently. You can get in a year, but after that, as year 2, year 3, it will get return will get I would say averaged out. So the greed part, I think, and it's not Hardshell Method. There are thousands of people actually. Hardshell Method brought scale to the whole scam. But a huge number of people who actually come to the stock market, keep in mind that this is the place where at least we can become rich very quick. But unfortunately, it doesn't happen. Okay, so I think this control on your greed is very, very important. But more importantly, that your ethics, your values. If you try to, I think, borrow money like what Hardshell did, that he used somebody else's money, the bank's money, and I think put into the stock market, and that money also was not through legitimate channels. Okay, so if you try to, I think, bypass the system, you got unlimited greed, you become arrogant because of that, then definitely I think so at every point of time we'll see this kind of stories coming in. And it's not in the stock market, there I would say a lot of players who came here, lost money, and then they are repenting it. But then consistent wealth creation only happen once you know that you buy into the companies with right management and right business model. You wait for, you have the patience and perseverance to remain invested. So I think the greed, ethical part, and arrogance, I would say, all three things really, I think definitely I think give you some sense about various scams. You saw, and I have lived through that scam. I know exactly how it was happening, and we were so kind of, I think, scared, and we were so cautious that something really, I think, anything really goes up. I always say that market always go up slowly. It goes up by the staircase and it comes down by the lift. Okay, so anything really which goes up faster, the fall is even faster. So we were exactly expecting there something is going wrong happen. Let's be cautious. But then broking business was exploding. You got huge number of it. So we were actually indirectly we were the beneficiary of this scam, because people's greed brought them to the markets and they were trading a lot. And although I think when the markets are in that kind of frenzy, people kind of, I think, don't listen to advice. In fact, they become the advisor. So my clients were becoming advisor to me rather than they taking my advice. Yeah, everybody thinks that he's the smart guy and market is going up because really I think he's the smart guy and he's done the right thing. But it was something else which was driving the price.
And you exited at the right point, your holdings? Just before it crashed? Did you exit all your positions just at the right point?
No. See, only few stocks we could see. Our style was buy and hold. Buy good quality companies, okay, and hold it. That's it. We said that we are never going to speculate. Our two principles from day one, I and Raamdeo said that we are not going to speculate in the stock market, and we are not going to leverage. No speculation, no leverage. There were two things personally we said that really I think we will definitely I think keep in mind, so that I think you don't leave, because most of the problems happen because leverage or speculation, and most of the brokers actually were doing their own speculation. They had no interest in serving the clients.
Great. So next question that I have for you is it's like a mini rapid fire round. So I'll ask you 5-6 questions. You can quickly tell me the answers, right? So I think the first question is, I'm going to tell you 5-6 names of animals, right? And I want you to tell me which company comes to your mind when you hear these words. Yes, name of the animals, right? The first one is lion.
See?
Lion.
Lion, na? I think immediately Dhirubhai Ambani comes to my mind. Reliance. Yeah. So see, there are two people. But just to share my thoughts, there are two people who have actually expanded the market in a big way. One is Dhirubhai Ambani through ethical, the power of shareholder. Actually, people have made a lot of money. So that is the kind of, I think, right way of creating entrepreneurship, because he came out with the IPO. So the scale he brought in, and huge number of investors came through Reliance. And second thing was the Hardshell Method. Because of the greed, thousands of people, or I would say millions of people, came to the stock market and they got stuck. But the opportunity of the market was, I think, shown to these people, both the people. Reliance could make it big and they sustained it. Hardshell Method could not sustain it. But I would say in my career, I've seen these two people who actually become the kind of, I would say, catalyst for the market growth.
Great. And second animal is stallion.
Stallion. I don't know. कोई ऐसा company मुझे दिखता नहीं है stallion. To be very frank, I'm sorry, but I'm not able to relate to any company with stallion word.
Something goes very fast, something like that.
No, I know. We do this all fastest stories, but I think Hardshell Mehta came. He's the personality I think who came fast and who went away fast. But I think I would say Satyam Computer.
Okay.
Was again I think another scam. So in the stock market you see all kind of scams. Satyam scam, Ketan Parekh scam, Hardshell Mehta scam.
Yeah.
So those kind of things really I think will keep on happening. Yeah.
The next one is Phoenix. Something who's gone down and come back. Anybody that you have in mind?
I think I would say TCS.
Okay.
They've seen ups and downs. I think in 2002, kind of, I would say 2001 meltdown, they also kind of, I think, suffered. But I think, what they've done, basically great companies. Great companies also go through temporarily setbacks, okay, but that's fine.
Okay. And when you hear the word unicorn, any startups come to your mind?
I think Paytm, Ola, they're the fantastic examples of Indian entrepreneurship.
And if given a chance, would you continue investing in India, or if you have equal opportunity to invest in the US, which would you prefer investing in US stock markets? Which would you prefer?
I definitely see the people who have reasonable amount of wealth. Okay, actually reasonable is the wrong word, because for everybody thinks reasonable different, but at least at some point of time people have to start diversifying their portfolios from one asset class to multiple asset class, from one country to multi countries. Okay, so that's the way we advise our people. Although we feel personally that we are not invested in global markets, okay, it's very small portion is there, but we advise our customers that at least they must de-risk from one country or one asset class.
Okay. So you would suggest at this point that you wouldn't mind looking at?
Absolutely. In fact, some of our Nasdaq and S&P products are Nasdaq actually is now 6-7 year old product. It has given fantastic return.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So people are very happy, and in fact, you get every day a lot of money is coming. Even at these levels, you are able to attract global money in dollars. So we were the first one to launch Nasdaq product. We were the first one to now launch S&P product for global investing. Those products are doing exceedingly well. And
what are the 4 or 5 divisions that you have? Which one is the most favorite?
I think we have evolved. So basically, we started as a broking firm, retail broker. Then 1992, 93, 4, I think the foreign investors came in. So we added institutional brokerage, and based on the research, we were rated. I think many years we were the best independent research house. So that was a natural progression. Then we started portfolio management services, wealth management businesses, investment banking businesses, and managing assets through private equity and real estate. So I think every 3-4 years we kept on adding more and more products and services. But focus in financial services, broking, we basically say we are actually 3 streams of business: the transaction-based, the fee-based, and fund-based.
And next question to you is, what is in your professional career, what is the best compliment you've received from whom, which you really are proud of?
At different point of time, you obviously get accolades, but in 95 or 97, because we were still proprietary firm, so me and Raamdeo were kind of given the Rashtriya Samman Patra for paying amongst the highest taxpayers. So the government can recognize those kind of things, that and you feel nice that one is that you pay tax ethically, and second thing, you also get recognition, and you are chosen few in the country who have been recognized that. So that was kind of one. When you got listed, I think you get very different kind of feeling with your market cap of $1 billion. Going back again to you corrected by 70-80%, because when the market crashes, you also in 2000 immediately post our listing, we went through this Lehman crisis. So our stock price also came down to as by 80%. Then again, I think you move up by 10 to 10 times and all. So I think the wealth creation for our investors who are sitting with us, I think that really I think gives us that we first thing that we ourselves are the investors in the company, but then you got a lot of minority and institutional investors. So that kind of I think gives us huge amount of, I would say, pride and satisfaction when your associates, your employees, when we give them the stock, 12-13% of the stocks we gave to the kind of the employees, they created huge wealth and they kind of I think acknowledged the kind of I think their own wealth creation journey. I think these are a few things which really I think definitely you feel proud for.
I read in a interview that one of your hobbies are reading, and you and Mr. Agrawal, you both read a lot. So when you started your career into broking, what were the kind of books you were reading, and what are you reading now?
See, I don't read actually about the stock market. I don't read because my job is to build businesses. And Raamdeo reads only about stock market. He reads only about stocks and companies and kind of I think how really I think he can understand those kind of businesses. So I read more about self-autobiographies, books on strategies, books on kind of I think leadership, books on motivation. So these are the books really I think which I read, and I think the objective is I don't read frictions. Because I think I would say I think that that's waste of time for me. So I think that's the way we have, and of course I have picked up my habit of reading from Raamdeo only. Being a researcher, he used to read a lot, so I picked up the habit from him. But now many times he said that I read more than him now.
So what are you reading now? What book are you reading now?
So I'm reading about now. In fact, the Goldman Sachs, the history of Goldman, how the Goldman Sachs got evolved. So I'm just thinking about that. I think at any point in time I would read 2-3 books. I read one of the books on excellence, 3-4 books, which really I think are talk about excellence. Before that, I read some books about meditation. I tend to practice meditation. So I think different kind of I think books I keep on reading about that. But mostly, how really I think you can become. You learn something from any book and you keep on becoming better, I think, by reading the books.
Just one, did you get a chance to read Jim Simon's biography, Renaissance Capital?
No, I have not read that. Yeah, okay. I have not read that. I've heard about it.
Really, you heard of Renaissance Capital, no? In the US.
Yeah, I know. So I will. I think I definitely will pick it up. You like that?
Really, yeah, I read that. Can I gift it to you? That's okay.
Thank you very much. It will be great. Huh?
I'll get your address and I'll deliver it.
I'll remember you for that. It's not that, but when somebody it becomes I would say I become quite emotional when somebody sent me a good book.
Yeah, this is a good book. Yeah, I'll send it to you. I'll give you an address right after this call. Then the next question is philanthropy. So we compiled this list called the Philanthropy list, which is a list of top 100 philanthropists in India. I've heard through some of the individuals who are in the list that you are actually quite serious about philanthropy. That is the feedback that I got from people in the list itself, right? And so I want to know your perspective on philanthropy. Where do you allocate your time towards? What do you focus on? What is the important cause for you? And where does Indian philanthropy stand at this point in time? I would love to hear from you about that.
No, I think it is very, very kind of, I think, important for us to really, I think, go through that, because I always feel that the life is all about learn, earn and return. You learn a lot, you earn a lot, and you also need to return a lot. Okay, so I'm not still so happy in terms of my contribution. I want to, I think, do much kind of, I think we have some plans, we have to put it on paper, but definitely I think that is one thing really we need to really, I think, pursue even more aggressively. Just to share some of the thoughts, like when me and Raamdeo, there is hostel in which we were there. So we have created, I think, one full building, and the major contributor to that building where now there are 1,000 chartered accountants are studying. So I think when they expanded into one more building, we were the first one to really, I think, contribute a large amount of money to that for building that the building itself, for creating the building. Or somebody came that in Orissa we must contribute a large amount of money because somebody is doing a great job for building educational institutions for the most underprivileged kind of section of the society, like your all Adivasis and all. Okay, so we have created one of the largest kind of 2,000 student facility there in Odisha, and just created a building and handed it over to them for running it. Or I think some of the universities who, some of the people who have kind of formed the new age universities here. So we have been the contributors to that. So our foundation actually, the main 90% of our money will go for education purpose, unless like Prime Minister's kind of fund for COVID relief or those kind of things. We'll keep on doing that on demand something, but that will be more for promoting the education. So we created few good quality institutions, and really I think working with that. But let me tell you, we don't feel proud for that, and we really want to do it now. It is just a good beginning, but really I think that has got to be really, I think, taken to the, I would say, very big next level. So we have some thoughts. I think over a period of time will really, I think, definitely I think do that.
And who according to you is a philanthropist that you look up to, and who you would like to?
I think see in India, I think the biggest is, I would say, Premji Foundation. They are, I think, the largest. Globally, of course, you've got Microsoft guys, I think, or Buffett. So globally, they are the icons, both Microsoft and I would say Berkshire. In India, I think Premji has shown a good way to all of us. I think Shiv Nadar, the guy, or Narayan Murthy. So I think these are the kind of, I think, I would say, icons for philanthropy today.
Okay. And what is your daily routine? What time do you wake up? And what is your
sleeping time is fixed, 9:30 to 10. I wake up anywhere between 2:15 to 5.
2 a.m. Between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m.
Yeah, 2:15. So 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. That's my wake up time. Because I don't need more than 4 hours sleep, and sometimes when I get up at 2 o'clock, I read for 1.5, 2 hours, and then I'll again sleep. So it all depends upon, I think, my own energy level or the quality of reading. If I'm very excited, then I'll not sleep. But normally, the last time I wake up is 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock is my alarm, but I wake up anywhere between 2 to 5, and few days I just go back to sleep.
And then you wake up, then you read, you work out.
I read. I daily work out, twice a week yoga, and 5 days walk. So most of the days, wherever I am, I'll make sure that I have my this exercise and reading habits. So they are the biggest kind of, I think, source of energy for me.
So final two questions. The first question is, what will be your advice to the CAs, the chartered accountants, who wants to be entrepreneurs? And there are quite a few CAs who are entrepreneurs in India. But what will be your advice to CAs who are looking at starting businesses?
Yeah. So I think the advice to those guys, first thing is, I think the power of values. I think that's really, I think, very, very critical, because you are looking at next 50 years, 75 years of your own life. So what you carry with you is your own reputation. And reputation is built by kind of, I think, your kind of, I think, values, what you buy. So that is number one. Number two is the hunger for learning. So every day you keep on challenging yourself, keep on learning something new. Because knowledge will be one thing which will be the biggest difference. Whatever way, kind of, I think, whatever kind of, I think, profession or business you are in, at least read and become kind of, I think, more and more kind of, I would say, knowledgeable on that particular topic, subject matter experts. So how the most biggest value is stated by the subject matter experts. So I would say ethics, I would say the learning part, and third thing is how do you work with people. So I call it my kit for success: knowledge, integrity, and team. That's my KIT. K stands for knowledge, I for integrity, and T for team, working with people. So that's my short-term kind of, I think, I would say, acronym for advice to all the youngsters, that at least that's the way we have built this organization, and I strongly believe in, and we practice absolutely on that, and I think that has created a lot of value for us, and I'm sure that's a universal kind of, I think, formula for most of the successful guys.
And being a chartered accountant definitely does help you in terms of understanding
the knowledge partners. See, chartered accountants ultimately is what they make you subject matter expert. Right? So you have to really, I think, as a chartered accountant, when you pass through, you have to work hard to make sure that in shorter time you acquire so much knowledge.
Great. I think those are my set of questions.
Okay,
Thank you.
have a good day. Have a good day.
Have a great day. Cheers. Pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you
Sonali.
so much.
Thanks, Rohini.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Take care.
Bye.